Welcome back to Rise and Shine, Ability Connection Colorado's podcast. And thank you for the encouragement, because whether you meant to or not, you watched, you liked, you shared, you commented, and now we think we should keep doing it. And we will, because we're creating a library at accopodcast.org of the most incredible, most noble, most experienced people talking about things that a lot of people run into walls. So, when, for example, just talk to Brad Torch of Guardianship Alliance and how to become a guardian for a loved one in the family, and talking to Lisa Heberlin, who teaches adult mental health first aid, which is a good point for May because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And today, in a mere minute, we're going to talk to Nikki Martin of Parent to Parent, this organization connecting people who in their lives might have a child with disability or a special health care need, and the value that brings to those families where they go from surviving to thriving. But first, I should say that this episode brought to you by Colorado Concours d'Elegance and Exotic Sports Car Show, June 8th, 9 to 3 p.m. Beautiful spring day at Arapahoe Community College. Just huge swath of green, and about 300 some cars show up. I went for the first time last year and was blown away at how awesome this is. I'm not like a car guy. I don't get giddy about cars, but you get there and you are. And there's music and food. And I think last year, 14,000 people, but you didn't feel crowded because it's just a big space. And there's just that springtime optimism. And it all goes to help at-risk children and get to experience our creative options for early childhood education, a Head Start program where we've seen so much success with so many children. And you can get tickets, or you can find out how you can show off your car or volunteer at coloradoconcours.org. Okay, well, we are about to get to know and connect, and we're going to do that with Nikki Martin of Parent to Parent. I'm so glad to have you here. What does your day look like? How many kids do you have?
2.
You have 2 kids. You have the 2 kids, and you have Parent to Parent. What does your day look like? Especially as you're carrying around this globe of information on your shoulders. How are you handling that in this time of all kinds of change?
By breaking out in hives.
Okay, thank you. That's very
True story.
yeah, yeah.
Every day is different. I'll tell you about today.
This is good.
Every day is different. Okay, so last night, this is so horrible. Last night, I took my laptop to bed with me. Don't recommend it. And then I started reading. I'm like, okay, the congressional budget has been submitted. There's all these cuts associated with Medicaid. All the news headlines are gloom and doom. I haven't had a chance to actually read those cuts specific to Medicaid to sort of decipher for myself what it means versus just trusting that the news media has it right. So that's how I went to bed last night. I'm like, well, how am I going to make sense of this in order to then try to provide like just straightforward fact-based information to our membership for them to sort of say, oh, this is great, this is not great, this is okay, I don't know, so that everybody can kind of form their own opinions. So that's rolling around in my head. And then I homeschool my daughter, and she is my special needs kiddo. So she went to this really amazing preschool, the only school I have ever loved. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see if they can use a TA for the day. And so we did that this morning, and she loves kids, loves working with kids. And I'm like, oh, this will be like such a great motivating thing. And it will really empower her in her learning. And, she can be seen as the mentor type, and it'll build confidence. It'll be so great. So we did that this morning for 3 hours, and I just worked in the teacher offices upstairs while she was in the classroom, and I just kind of popped in a couple times, and she was playing on her own. And at the end of the day, she was very dysregulated. And so we're kind of considering some other diagnoses that are not yet formal. But there's definitely something going on that I'm not understanding that I want to understand more. And she'll be going to middle school next year. So do I continue to homeschool? Like, what kind of middle school do I put her in? And I'm like, well, she's having a hard time navigating this small little preschool and all the noise and movement and such that's going on within this school. Like, how on earth am I going to put her in a middle school that really gets noisy and is crowded and people are going fast between classes? So I don't know that she wants to go back and do it again. I think it's more of like understanding what the expectations are for her in that situation, so that she feels more comfortable with it. It's just going to take time and trials. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, I didn't get out of it what I was hoping for her, but it really provided some really great insight for me in terms of environments that are best suited or not suited for her to help in my decision making going forward. So it wasn't what I wanted to get, but it's still valuable insight, right?
Yeah, boy, the time and trials. I mean, when you're thinking about what you have to do, it gets overwhelming. But if you just start moving and learning,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any better response.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is now just kind of chilling. I'm trying to get some work done. We're trying to come together with some other community organizations that are like-minded to kind of dream up the types of bills that we'd like to see next session in the legislature. So while my kiddo is playing in the classroom, I'm like, okay, well, what do I want? So I need to put that into words and send that off to our community partners. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I've got
What are we at? Like 10 a.m. right now? How far in the day have we gotten?
that's 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have leftovers for lunch.
Lunch? What?
No, sorry, I shouldn't tease you like that. It's not a thing. Nobody does it. You'll eat tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, parent to parent, and you said this when I first talked to you, is that you're not alone, and I think that's what a pebble thrown in the pond of life, rippling outward, is such an important piece. And of course, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the entire piece of parent to parent.
Yes, but I think this applies to anyone. I think our world is in such a hurry. We want everything to have an ease to it, and like how many appointment reminders do you get from robots versus actual human person? Or you're ordering your Lyft or home delivered meals. It's the same thing. It's like we are like society is stripping away social connection just bit by bit. I think we all need it. And I think that especially caretakers and parents of those who have special needs, it's critical, but it's so hard to find the time to make for those social connections. And I mean, as we know, like in real life is the best case scenario. So parent to parent is kind of taking things to the road, if you will, this summer and creating some more in-person events, like play date type things where everybody can just kind of get together, casual, meet one another, maybe make some connections. Maybe the kids will make some connections and have new play date friends. Who knows? Maybe if we can't do in person, everybody's circumstances and situations are different. Just even connecting on our online forum or attending one of our parent groups or just something where you can actually hear about other people's experiences, learn from them. You can help share what you know with others. There's just such this like ripe knowledge among our parents. And to be able to give the gift of sharing that with someone else is so great. And the connection that comes along with it, it's just priceless.
Well, now I want to know because we were just talking about this perfect firestorm. And what is this to you? What is this to other people within the parent to parent community and beyond?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I myself am striving every day to try to understand.
Hmm.
Um, feels like I'm chasing an elusive goal. Um, but yeah, July 1st. So we have a new waiver, which is the merger of the um, HCBS, which is what is that? Colorado Home Community Based Services waiver with the CLLI, which is the Child Life Limiting Illness waiver, to the CWCHN, which is Children with Complex Health Needs waiver. So
Just the
that's
amount of
happening.
initials, just the amount of initials taking up the in your brain storage is impressive thus far. I think you're doing great.
Nice.
Okay.
We refer to it as alphabet soup.
Yes.
You'll have to
And
stop me if I throw some out there that are unfamiliar. So we have a wager merger that's pending. We also have the addition of Community First Choice that will debut on July 1st, and that affects not only those who are on waivers, but those who are just on the straight Medicaid state plan. And that actually is supposed to be a really great thing. It will provide some services that were not otherwise accessible to members that could be really great. It's great in theory. I will be very interested to see how it actually materializes, because I think there's going to be a flood of people who are wanting to avail themselves of these new services that they have. And we already know that we have a workforce shortage in terms of providers. Um, and that could be therapists, it could be anything. So what's that going to look like? Are we even going to be able to utilize those services?
I'm on the edge of my seat. This is like watching a thriller, and I mean, there's so much at stake. And it's like I'm watching you as the hero in the movie, hoping to defuse a bomb.
Oh, well, I don't know that I'm a hero. I'm just trying to like present information. What I'm trying to do in my role at Parent to Parent is present people with the information, and everybody's situations are different. Everybody has different waivers. Everybody's utilizing different services. Some people are on CNA. Some people are on IHSS. And that's certified nurse aid versus in-home support services versus CDOS, which is consumer directed attendant care. I have that wrong, but support services. Um, Everybody has different situations. What I'm trying to do is just attend as many meetings, absorb as much information as I can, to then relay that to the families, and hopefully they can kind of connect the dots between the information that they're given and how it applies to their situations, to know what they need to be doing, what they need to be looking out for, what to be advocating for. Um,
Are you
Along
are
the
you
lines to, oh, go ahead.
are you talking in your sleep with this stuff? Have loved ones cornered you and said, "Nikki, yeah, it's okay. We're at a cocktail party. You can talk about gardening."
It's funny you ask that, because I'm not thinking about it in my sleep, which is a good thing. What I am thinking about in my sleep, my daughter loves, I don't know if I'm saying the name correctly, but it's Rose and Bruno Mars, the APT song, the
Oh yeah, my
opposite
daughter loves
song.
that too.
Oh, I have been singing that in my sleep for weeks now. I cannot stop thinking about it. That's what I'm
No,
thinking about in my sleep.
no, we get in the car, and my 11-year-old, she's got the aux cable, as we call it, and she puts in the requests, and yeah, that's been hot. That's been in hot rotation,
Yeah.
and I can't think of it right now. I'm gonna put it in the podcast so it's here now, and so people can hear why we might have this brain worm. But it's
We
catchy.
might have to do a little dance at the end.
And
Opposite
this
dance.
this is the all right, good, all right. So we still have dancing, Nikki, not just procedural, bureaucratic, Nikki.
Yeah. We have to bring humor into this somewhere.
Well,
But
you
just
mentioned your daughter, and I just want to back up a little bit. Uh, how is it? Why is it that you are so adept at this information? Why are you following this information? I mean, and this goes to your personal story. I mean, because I know there was like a 20-year-old Nikki. Like, if you went back in time and told 20-year-old Nikki about all this, she'd be like, "What?" you know,
Yeah.
what's the story that led us to now?
Yeah, I don't think anybody can look back at their 20-year-old selves and have scripted how things would turn out, right? That's definitely the case for me. It's really interesting that you ask that though, because so I have never had an interest in or penchant to be involved in policy in any way, shape, or form. And when I talk about policy too, I'm referring to like rules, regs, like the whole shebang. Um, and then when my kiddo came along, and especially once she entered her school years, I really I wanted to make some change at the school system level. So I ran for just our local school board position, not with the district, but just with our local school. Got involved with the school board and like the um, Denver Public Schools Special Education and Advisory Committee, those kinds of things. And I was really dismayed because I was not able to have the impact that I really wanted. And I realized it's going to have to come at a much larger scale, which is kind of the converse of what you usually think about, right? Like taking on the big thing first is like so much harder than if you start smaller. But yeah, not being able to make any inroads at the school level, I thought, well, okay, I've got to think bigger, and I've got to think policy that's bigger, that trickles down and can influence at the levels that I wanted. And so that's when I got involved with policy and what's happening at the legislative level. Primarily at the state level, but also, I mean, the federal level also bleeds into that just because so much funding does come from the feds that impacts the states. If you were to ask me now, if I could wave my magic wand, I would love to run for office to be part of the legislative body in Colorado. I think that would be amazing. But for now, I'm just a parent who has some ideas, knows the system enough to know things that are working, things that aren't, listening to the impacts and challenges that other parents are also experiencing helps to round out that knowledge in the hopes that planting seeds along the way is the least that I do. And if there's bigger change that comes from any of this, like that would be the cherry on top.
So you found this place where you can affect policy within parent to parent. I mean, is this bigger than what you were able to do prior?
For sure. For sure. Sometimes it's just as simple as joining the meetings so that they see that, if there's something happening on the floor and they see that there's 500 plus attendees, like that makes a difference. So I think that kind of demystifying what it takes and what it looks like to get involved in policy is something that I've really developed a passion for.
Well, you are preaching because I know so many people, myself included, and you get overwhelmed. You don't think what you can do is possible, but then somebody gives you as something as simple as just the time and date of a meeting, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden there's a bridge has been floated to you, and you're like, okay, well, at least I know where to be and when, so that I can start this process. But I don't know what it is societally or what has happened, but I think there's this gap. People feel that they're so far away from actually making a difference.
I think it's a blend of that and just the time. We don't have free time. We
Hmm.
just don't. So how am I even going to find time to figure out where I fit in or what I can do to do any, to make any sort of a difference? It just takes some thought. So I think what we're going to try to do and what we're hearing from our members, our community, after this year in particular, in this legislative session, is to create ways of having maybe working sessions where you can attend a presentation for an hour, but you come out of that hour with your written testimony or an email that you can then send to your local representatives, or it could be state representatives if you want to go for the federal level. But just having those working sessions, I feel like so often we just kind of, a lot of information is geared to like bestow information on you, but actually doing something with it is a whole nother thing. So hopefully coming together as a community and doing that together and practicing and getting comfortable and removing any layers of fear or intimidation or whatever that may be. We're hoping to do that, maybe create some toolkits so that people can kind of do it on their own time in their own space. But that will be, I think, a really great focus for us in the years to come.
You know how there's the bring your kid to work day thing? There should be like a bring your friend to a policy session day,
Yes.
just to get
Yes.
an idea. These are just people, and these people will make decisions without you if you're not there.
Yeah, well, I think we don't give ourselves credit enough for the insight that we have. Like, it just is in our world, right? But then you talk with these legislators and they are so hungry for information. And you think about, gosh, I don't even know how many bills, I wrote about it at one point, that legislators had to consider this session. It was an absurd amount. So they have to become experts in a really short amount of time on a variety of topics. So anytime they have people coming to them, sharing their stories, sharing, here's what's good, here's what's not so good, here's maybe some considerations, or, you know, we're all about cost savings these days. Here's where I see that costs could be cut where they shouldn't be cut. But I can't tell you how many times I heard legislators in sessions just say, like, I don't know about this, so I'm just going to follow this other legislator, and my vote's going to go that way because they don't have enough information. And anytime they can also bring letters from their constituents to read and support, in support or in opposition of a bill, like, that is gold to them. So I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit for the influence that we have and the knowledge that we have, and how much legislators really, really crave, want, and need that info from us.
And as a nonprofit, you're not really lobbying, you're advocating, right? That's
Right.
right. Okay.
Yes. And it's really interesting that you say that. I have to be careful here, but the lobbyists, they've got their stuff down, right? Like, they tell a really compelling story.
Mhm.
They're smooth. They've got lots of data. They can make anything sound really, really amazing when, even if it's not good for the disability community. So yeah, it takes people like us, like families like ours, to kind of bring other aspects to light, so that, these lobbyists are there all the time. And families need to be there all the time. And every family doesn't have to be there for everything. But if we can just have and build a community where people kind of, drop in and drop out of the things that matter to them and come together as a larger community, our voices will be that much stronger, and the lobbyists will have a harder time convincing the legislators to vote their way.
So what was your parent to parent journey? There had to be that day one where you're like you got your college rule line notebook, maybe taking notes. Like, how did you get involved, and how did you end up where you are now in that you're affecting change?
I don't know that I'm affecting change yet. Um, but yeah, that's a good question. I sort of fell into it. And I'm not sure how I got here. I just sort of happened here.
That is 80% of my day, but yes. Like, which kid am I picking up right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I got here. I really don't. But I think, yeah, I think bigger world challenges have brought me to this work as well, sort of realizing maybe what's happening behind the scenes. And again, everything kind of sounds slick and good, but then you're like, wait a second, what's happening with these venture capital firms, and what are they pouring funds into, and what is big pharma pouring funds into, and why is our federal government making these decisions that they are? So I started learning about that. I was like, I need to start asking some more questions and really understanding why decisions are being made that are being made. And perhaps there's a side of the story that I don't have that I want to learn about, so that I can then be more knowledgeable and advocate more effectively. So that's kind of how that began. I don't know where this will go. I'm hoping it doesn't end. Um, I'll always I'll always be advocating in some way, shape, or form. I just don't know how that will look down the road, but it's been a really interesting journey, and I'm looking forward to what the future has to bring.
Well segued, because what is it that we're looking at right now that the future could bring? I mean, you're talking about July 1st and there's changes. What are these changes and how could they impact people?
Yeah, so the July 1st changes, I mean, that's all systemic stuff. It's going to be a big deal. It will be ongoing throughout. So the state's fiscal year is July 25 through July 20, or June, the end of June 26. So it'll be a slow rollout. Um, so it's not going to be, I hope it's not a super pain point for everybody off the bat. And hopefully whatever does go awry is easily fixable and doesn't disrupt services or care to kids and families. Yeah, a lot of things happening with the waiver merger. We've got the debut of the nurse assessor. There's a lot of things that have been happening behind the scenes that have lacked a lot of transparency, and we're just told to believe that things are valid and that they have been exhaustively trialed, and but yet there's no information to support that. So you're just left to wonder. And all of this is happening on a fast track too. And some things don't get soft launches because everything is on a fast track. And this is all predicated on federal mandates, right? So like Colorado has to do these things and we have to do it in a hurry. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens July. But then we also have the next legislative session to look forward to. And I think as we get closer to that, the piece that will keep me up at night, there's been a lot of discussion about managed care. And I think if you ask any family who has a kiddo with a disability, it's not a good thing. It's basically kind of these corporate entities who are looking to make a quick dime, who are making decisions about your child's care and don't necessarily have the child's best interest in mind. And maybe cost-cutting measures are not, they are not a good thing. That's a piece. I think there's also a trend towards private equity kind of snapping up systems, right? Like we've seen that with the hospital system nationwide. And I think if I'm not mistaken, there are only two hospital systems in the country that are left that are truly independent. All the others are under some sort of private equity firm. And the same thing is happening in other aspects of the medical system. So I think, especially for my kiddo who has an intellectual developmental disability, IDD, like private equity is swallowing up these IDD providers. And that's changing the care that they get because they are cutting costs. They want to make money. And what are the implications going to be for that? So my wish is to maybe tighten Medicaid rules so that cost-cutting measures, if they are associated with solely making a profit, it's going to be harder for these private equity firms to do that if it does compromise care, to bring transparency to it. There's a lot of providers who you would never know are managed by private equity companies. So that transparency, as well as why certain decisions are being made and what decisions are being made. And then also to have some sort of like consequences if there should just be greater penalties for violations. I'll just say that.
Right. Yeah.
So I would love to see that.
Care is the priority, and if it
Yeah.
doesn't appear that that's happening, then some
And it's, it's different for every situation, right? But just the whole migration with what private equity is doing. And there's a lot of legislators that really like their ears are perked by this managed care model. Like they're wanting to they're going to have to cut a lot of money next year to compensate for budget shortfalls. And so it sounds good in theory. And again, you've got your lobbyists kind of talking to them saying how great this would be, but like people aren't getting the information on the flip side of, okay, well, it might be great in these respects, but here's what you're sacrificing. Here's what it might mean. Here are the things that need to be taken into consideration if such a model is to be adopted.
I imagine there's time in your life, in a lot of parents' lives, where they get a lot of paperwork. Maybe they have a newborn, or they just discovered something about their child. What do they do? What do you suggest? What is the first thing they should do in advocating for themselves, or just ensuring that the care they may need it will be there?
Gosh, my first reaction is to get connected to a group like Parent to Parent of Colorado, where you can talk with other parents, share with other parents, other parents share with you. You're not alone in it. You can do this with other people. They will help open your eyes to other resources, to the challenges that we all face, to ways in which to advocate and where it's needed. So I would say, yes, get connected to some sort of parent community that can help. Unfortunately, nobody else can do the paperwork for us, right? But if we are part of a community that can help support each other in that, and if we have questions or paperwork gets lost or whatever, like how to navigate all of that, we can support one another in that.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, we need those connections. And when you do connect, you realize it again. You're like, wow, this is what we're missing.
Yes. Yeah. Away from screens, away from distractions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been really fantastic. I would say this is the perfect blend of policy and humanity, this story you've shared.
Well, yeah, I'm excited that you are giving voice to this. And I'll be curious to hear if any feedback comes our way too. I'm always wanting to know what's on the minds of parents in our community and kind of what their needs are, and how we can kind of come together to help address those, because one family has the need. There are so many others that have that same need. So I don't want to be guessing or assuming. It's always great to hear from people to know exactly what it is that we can help affect.